You reach a point on the spiritual path where things stop being obvious. In the earlier stages, your lessons come at you in ways you can't miss, almost like life is putting the truth right in front of your face so that you can't get it wrong. But as you grow, the lessons stop arriving with that same level of clarity. They become quieter, more refined, and easier to misread. This video is all about that stage, the tightrope phase, where you're constantly balancing between several possible interpretations of the same situation. It's where you're not choosing between right and wrong anymore, but between what's aligned and what looks aligned but isn't. And if you're feeling like everything requires a little more careful sensing than it used to, that's exactly what this stage is designed to do. Let's break down how this phase works, why it can feel confusing, even for people who have been on this path for a long time, and how to walk that energetic tightrope with clarity instead of second-guessing yourself. Let's get started. When you first start waking up, your lessons are unmistakable. Red flags aren't subtle, patterns repeat loudly, and you can see where you're sabotaging yourself, even if you don't stop doing it immediately. Life gives you the training wheels version of growth, the kind where the consequences are loud enough to get your attention and push you to change. That stage is important, but it's basic level training. Once you develop awareness, the universe doesn't need to hit you with the same dramatic scenarios. As you evolve, the lessons become layered and more complex. You start encountering situations where both sides carry truth, and the challenge isn't choosing the right one, but recognizing which truth applies to your energy in that moment. You no longer wonder whether you should listen to your intuition. Now you're trying to distinguish whether the message is coming from actual intuitive knowing or from an old fear dressed up in spiritual language. Nothing is black and white anymore. The clarity you used to rely on now becomes more subtle, almost like it's whispering instead of shouting. This is where the tightrope analogy comes in. When you're walking a tightrope, the difference between balance and imbalance isn't dramatic. It's a few degrees in either direction. Spiritual growth gets like that. A small energetic lean can shift the entire meaning of your choice. Lean too far into effort, and you burn out. Lean too far into surrender, and you drift into complacency. If you push too hard for boundaries, you close yourself off. But if you forget boundaries, you start carrying responsibilities that aren't even yours. Everything lives in that in-between space where you can't rely on extremes to guide you anymore. It's not a punishment, it's refinement. You've reached the level where your goal depends on subtle calibration, not dramatic overhauls. And this is where the next layer comes in, what I call the whispering path. At this level, guidance doesn't come through dramatic signs anymore. It comes through subtle impressions, quiet inner shifts, and the tiniest energetic cues. Your evolution now depends on your ability to sense what isn't loud. If your mind is busy, if your emotions are noisy, if your life is cluttered with other people's energy, you won't hear what's meant for you. Whispers don't compete with noise. They wait for you to create silence. This is where meditation becomes essential, but not the extreme, empty your mind version that people dread. Stillness isn't about stopping thought. It's about creating enough internal space for truth to rise above the mental chatter. I've included a powerful meditation that clears out the negative thoughts and emotional debris that don't serve you, so that you can breathe, settle, and actually hear what's trying to reach you. When you're in that quiet field, the difference between fear and intuition become obvious. The difference between aligned and almost aligned becomes clear. The tightrope becomes easier to walk, not because life changed, but because you finally became quiet enough to hear the next step. At this stage, the test is almost always the energy behind your choice and not the choice itself. Two people can take the same action, but if one does it from clarity and the other does it from fear, the karmic effect is completely different. You might be walking away from a situation, and on the surface, it looks like a strong, empowered move. But internally, if you're walking away because it's what you've always done when things feel uncomfortable, you've just repeated an old pattern again. Or you might be choosing to stay in something, Not because you're stuck, but because the aligned thing for that particular moment is patience, presence, or letting the situation unfold without forcing it. The difficulty here is that the distinction isn't behavioral, it's energetic, and that requires self-honesty on a level that most people never reach. So let's make this real and more practical. You're setting a boundary, which the earlier version of you couldn't. But there's a moment when protecting your peace quietly shifts into avoiding emotional vulnerability. On the surface, it looks the same, but it's the energy behind it that changes everything. Or take intuition. You get a strong feeling about something. Earlier in your journey, that feeling was usually tied to fear or trauma. Now you've worked on yourself, but the sensation of intuition and anxiety can feel identical in the body. The secret is that you have to slow down enough to feel the difference. Even surrender becomes tricky. There's surrender that's rooted in trust, and then there's surrender that's rooted in exhaustion, disguised as spirituality. Both look calm from the outside, but one moves you forward and the other keeps you stuck. This is the tightrope, small adjustments that completely shift the direction of your growth. The way through the stage isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. Start slowing down your internal responses. The subtle lessons live in the pause before the reaction, the moment where you can feel whether your body is contracted or open. That moment tells you everything. Then look at the energy behind what you're about to do. If the energy is fear, avoidance, resentment, or control, you're leaning off the tightrope. If it feels grounded, honest, and calm, even if it's uncomfortable, you're moving from truth. And lastly, get comfortable with paradox. Two things can be true at the same time. You can be healing and still have blind spots. You can be strong and still struggle. Spiritual maturity is the ability to hold those contradictions without scrambling to simplify them. This tightrope phase isn't about mastering perfection. It's about understanding yourself on a deeper level than ever before. The lessons aren't loud anymore because you don't need loud. You're being invited to navigate with subtlety, to identify what's genuinely aligned and what only appears to be, and make choices that honor who you're becoming. And if this phase feels uncomfortable, that's exactly why you have to watch my other video. Pain is necessary for growth, but suffering is optional. It explains why discomfort is not a sign you're doing something wrong, but a sign that your energy is expanding, your old patterns are shedding, and you're stepping into a stronger, more grounded version of yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care, listen for the whispers, and always stay inspired.